Well, new plan. Drink the coffee first and then come back and sit down and do the actual podcast.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to be fluffy today, I promise.
Actually, you don't sound... You actually sound on point this morning. I can... After... What is it? How long have we been together?
18 years.
18 years? I can feel the machine just purring this morning. Your brain
My
is...
machine?
No, the brain.
Oh.
Like your brain.
I was going to say, what are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm fluffy today.
Oh, God.
All right. So what we're talking about today is... Oh, by the way, we are the bleepers
on a couch
drinking coffee.
Or drunk coffee, you should say, today.
Actually, yeah, we're drunk.
And no, we're not drunk because neither of us drink, so that's impossible.
Well, we do drink, but we just don't drink often.
Occasionally.
Yeah, when I met Amanda, she could drink.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Okay, advertising agencies and why you should hire one.
And the answer is because we told you to. That's so much fun.
That's not a good answer.
You can never say that to anyone out loud.
That's right. Can we just save you a bunch of time and just say, yeah, just do it? There are a lot of reasons why you should hire an agency, and unfortunately they don't sound very good when you don't have a lot of money. And we have started businesses ourselves. We've been through the terrible times where you start a business and you literally have no money, and every time you get money, it flows out the door quicker than it came in because there's rent and expenses and products have gone up and there wasn't quite as many sales and staff want money and car breaks down and blah, blah.
Without capital investment, if you're opening a business, pretty much for 12 months, you've barely got enough. There's any for you.
Yeah.
So there's barely any for you in the first 12 months, and that's just the way it is. If you're investing in a business, and then that's different. You're probably paying yourself from day one, but
yeah,
you have other stresses as well.
Well, and again, Amanda and I come back to this all the time. The difference between a big business and a small business is just amazing when you line up the things on each side. Big businesses don't take chances. I mean, one of my friends worked for a large corporation, and when they started a new thing, they had a budget of $200,000. When the budget was gone and there was no profit, it was closed. It was literally that didn't work. Even though it had signs it might work in the future, they said it's not working now. We are closing it. Next idea. They just don't expose themselves to risk. They can lose the $200,000. There's not really a problem to lose that. But they will not lose 400 or 600 or 800 and then be still losing. Yeah. So, and interestingly, Michael, my friend, he when he was doing his masters, he rang me one day and said, "Hey, have a listen to this that I learned." And he used to give me these little tidbits quite regularly. And he'd learned that large corporations no longer start things from scratch very often. It's much cheaper for them to buy companies that are profitable and have made it through the failure rate. Remember the other day we were talking about 80% fail in the first year and 80% fail in the second year and 60% fail in the third year? That failure rate, 1.6% of businesses making it through those first 3 years, is so expensive to a large corporation throwing ideas at everything. It's cheaper for Apple just to wait until some entrepreneur somewhere makes it through that obstacle course and then pay him $5 million. We'll buy him for $5 million. That is cheaper than taking the risk. So we understand small business is really hard. So why hire an advertising agency? Well, let's go back. Advertising has started out traditionally, and I think the most important thing is that it was one-dimensional, wasn't it? So anyone could just ring up Mary at the paper and say, "Hey, Mary, I want to book a 2-inch by 4-inch block in the workman section." And you'd say, your ad would read, Barry the plumber, free consult, call now. And that was advertising. And if you did that, since they put 40,000 of those papers out every week, out of those 40,000 people, someone would have a pipe blow, and they'd go to the paper and they'd open it up and there's Barry the plumber, and they'd ring him. And so the advertising worked. Well, there's a couple of big problems now with that. The first one is that they don't even deliver papers to every house anymore. So they actually skip flats. So they skip flats. They only deliver the houses. So you don't get any work from flats anymore. And people don't read the paper the way they used to. They certainly don't scroll through it. I've got very vivid memories when I was catching a train to school. I was on a 45-minute train one way and I was on a 12-minute train the other way, and they were both filled with businessmen just reading papers. And like it was like almost like a black and white flower inside the train, all these papers open, and you'd have this whoosh as they turn the pages and stuff, and it's quite a strong memory. But there was a skill to reading the paper. But I think people consumed that paper like a meal. They actually went page to page in that 45 minutes, and you had a good chance of your ad being seen. Whereas I don't think we read papers that way anymore, and papers aren't really very effective.
Well, as in Melbourne, in where we are, and locally, the papers aren't separate entities anymore. They're owned by real estate. So you're advertising in the real estate magazine. So if you think you're still advertising in the local paper, you are not.
You should clarify that, because you're the one who noticed that. They changed the name.
Yeah,
it used to be called the Leader paper.
No. It's the weekly review, I think it was called, and now it's called the Domain Review.
Yeah, which is very apt, because it's just a real estate magazine.
So, well, it's proof that they've bought the paper, they've put all their real estate ads in it for however many years, and now they're moved on to the next phase, which is branding it, the Domain Review. So every time we look at the paper, we're saying domain.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people ask us, well, what do you know about advertising? So let's just cover that off pretty quickly. Amanda's run businesses for
25 years.
25 years. And I've done pretty much the same. Amanda's sort of advertised single businesses over that time and spent $40,000 in big lumps over several months. So, and paid the penalty for that. We got really hurt once with a...
We've done... Yeah, well, without going into detail, we've done radio, we've done print,
radio,
newspaper, magazine.
Radio, we've managed millions of dollars worth.
Yeah.
I was spending $40,000 a month, $40,000 to $50,000 a month for over 2 years on radio. So...
cinema advertising.
Yeah, cinema, newspaper, radio, never done TV. But we've had great results on all of them, and we've had big failures on a couple of them. The magazine, Country Style magazine, we got hurt badly on. The rep just kept telling us it'd work, and we were taking out full pages, and it didn't work. And we ended up in the hole, big hole. It was a hurt, really hurt us. So the
well, that was back to one of our pieces of advice. You can't take business advice from a rep who's selling you advertising. It is one of the worst things you can ever do. Like they have a job to sell the advertising, and that is it. They don't know anything about business. They barely would know anything about your product, even if they think they do. They know nothing about.
They don't really know anything about advertising.
Well, they don't.
They know how to sell.
They don't know anything about advertising. It's it's a whammy on all three fronts.
Yeah.
They are ill-informed to give you any advice about anything other than this size for this amount of money.
Yeah, good deal.
You need to pay in 30 days.
Yeah, and then they come after you because they're owned by the big one. Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the where is my brain? Come back, brain. Come back.
The big bleepers, Fluffy. So, to keep this simple, because we don't want to go off topic, which we have done a couple of times. So we're going to try and keep these short and on topic.
Sorry, I got it. It's come back. I found it.
Choo-choo.
So the big thing here is is traditional advertising dying? We know for a fact it is, and we can tell that very easily. The traditional newspaper owners are now buying all the digital assets. And this is the huge tell.
Yeah, the hole is dug. The newspapers now are sitting inside, and they're starting to put the dirt
on top.
On top.
Yeah. So the newspaper owners have bought domain.com, realestate.com, all the boat sale places, all the car sales places. They've got Gumtree is owned by Google. So, but there's mimics of those being bought out by the big newspapers. So the newspaper owners are buying digital assets, and they're not buying them because they're pretty. They're buying them because they make money.
Well, and they've got to diversify because they know
the papers are dying. Yeah. So, yes.
So in a nutshell, back to my point.
Yes.
Traditional advertising, you are more than capable of putting an ad. You're more than capable of doing it yourself. Without too much, if there was an upside to an agency, you might not have ever got that money back. So just to say that you can do it without an agency. With digital, if you think you understand the digital platforms well enough to advertise, well, you do know them well enough to advertise probably, but you don't know them well enough to generate leads and generate money and bring customers to your business. You just don't.
It comes back to the dimension stuff, doesn't it?
And you can't. It's like I said, we're 3 years in, nearly 3 years in to our
converting from traditional advertising to digital, and it's complicated.
And it's so complicated.
Yeah.
That
well, it's so many levels to it. So like you're dealing with programs, you're dealing with websites, you're dealing with ideas, you're dealing with the actual getting your idea into the program and then onto the website. And like just the other day I was trying to work out something and it took me an hour. It was actually to stop a YouTube video from playing the next video after it. Now you would think this would be the simplest thing to fix.
Nothing.
An hour.
There's not much about digital that's intuitive.
No, I had to watch 3 videos and keep typing into Google until finally someone said, oh, you just go here, and here, and then push this button.
Yeah.
And it stops. It takes it back to the beginning of the video so no one sees your competitor's video straight after yours, which is not what you want. And those little tricks we learn on a day-to-day basis because we have to. We're dealing with multiple clients, and it saves you a lot of time. One of my most fun clients I've got at the moment, he said to me the other day, Jono, you do what you do and I'll do what I do. He says, and we'll both be happy. And I think that's a really good attitude because I wouldn't try to do what he does. He's got skills there that I don't want to learn and I don't have time to learn. And he appreciates the same thing because whenever he tries to do the digital stuff, he just ends up in a hole wasting hours and hours of time. But what an agency brings to the table is we bring our full focus is only on this particular area. And we do the research day to day, every day, finding out what works. And more importantly, this is the first time in my life where I've advertised and we're what we call net on ads, which means we are positive ROI on the ad spend. That is just...
it's been going 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, this is we're in the 3rd week now.
We allowed the first month to be negative.
Yeah. Yeah, so like when we normally launch a campaign, this is traditionally, when you launch a campaign traditionally, you would expect 2 or 3 months of negative before you ever saw a positive. And then you don't even try and recoup that negative. Gosh, that's just, that's the cost of doing business or the cost of playing the game. So digital stuff allows us to be net. We're actually making money on the advertising. It's like investing. I'm putting $100 in and I'm getting $200 back out. That is amazing. But when you take into account client value and customer monthly value, yearly value, and lifetime value, we're talking thousands of percent return.
I'm going to say we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars already in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well,
Very
that's us.
Exciting.
That's us for today. Advertising agencies, they know what they're doing, basically. But just same as everything, keep a leash on them. Make sure that they are making you money. If you're paying them money and they're not making you money, they don't understand what they're doing. So now with digital marketing and the targeting, it can be positive.
And also it's very transparent. So if you've got an agency that's not giving you the numbers, as in they're not showing you the data, then they're not transparent. So you need to find one that is, because everything is transparent. You can get on the screen and you can see exactly what's happening. We're not interested in anyone giving us money and we're not giving them clients. It's just not a scenario we are interested in, because that's our whole mission, is to find your clients, and we're going to crack that nut no matter how hard we try. And even if we've had a client and it hasn't quite worked the way that we thought, we keep going. We might not have the client, but we keep going because we want to work it out, because then we can help someone else down the track.
Well, this is the holy grail.
Yeah.
The holy grail is net.
Yeah.
We want to be able to come into your business, and we want to be able to, and this is what we're doing now, we want to be able to come into your business and actually take your advertising dollars, and at the end of that week or fortnight, we're net. You've actually made money back on your you've invested into your business.
And it's possible.
And we're doing it.
It's possible. It's not only possible, we're doing it. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm the big bleeper.
I'm the little bleeper.
We will see you tomorrow.
Latest.